those stairs.
That gives you an idea of how shrouded in secrecy these opening ceremonies have been. Peter Ueberroth has said that it's going to be someone that we all know and love. So I think your sentimental favorite was
so you had quite the outfit there
yes.
back at the Olympics. we have it joining with us
in studio.
today.
I hung on to this. CBC at the time, when they knew they were getting the Olympics, and they also wanted to change their corporate image, so they hired a designer by the name of Peter Max. And Peter Max had, at the time, had international, he's an international designer, well-renowned. And so when they came out with this color as a redhead, I went, oh, that's really nice. And sort of sucked it up and wore it for the games and have kept it all these years. I think my kids have taken it to school, when they're doing plays and that kind of stuff. But it survived the years, so I'm not sure I could fit into it anymore. But it's a
we
great
heard
memento.
the wardrobe was trying to get you to wear this earlier.
Yeah, no, that's not going to happen this time.
But does it bring back good memories?
It does. Oh, listen, being able to cover Olympics in any capacity, whether it be at home or away, is just magical, because every Olympics has its own separate story. So that's always wonderful to be a part of. So.
And your story at the '84 Olympics was you were the first female anchor ever to cover the Olympics, is that correct?
That's correct, yeah. Ann Romer had actually been hired by CBC to anchor part of their Olympic coverage, and a month after she was hired, she quit. And so I think possibly they were also scrambling around. They needed a host for this 13-week series they were doing called Olympic Journey. And I was just really fortunate. My background had been news, but they wanted that kind of news feel to a lot of the sports stories they were doing. And so I got to travel around the world for this 13-week series and then go to the Olympics.
So tell us about that when that first happened. Were you conscious of the fact that, this was a trail that was being blazed? It was new territory for women? I
really was conscious of that, and I knew then there's that extra pressure of you better do a good job, because there's a lot of people behind you who may be hired or not hired depending on how you perform at these specific games and how you do on air. And so there was that added pressure of doing it. I was more worried about coming from a news background into the sports genre, that that I really had to do all my homework to make sure that I got things right, because I didn't want to be caught saying something wrong.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, do you think females, people are a little bit harder on female anchors, sports anchors?
I think so, to a great degree. I mean, we had that controversy last year with, I think it was on Sportsnet, where one of the male anchors said, I don't care who it is, no female could equal the knowledge that a male anchor has. And there was quite a controversy about that. But a lot of it is societal, right? For the most part, in the past, women weren't really considered that demographic that television networks are going for. They're still interested in the 18 to 34 male. So slowly but surely that's changing, but I don't think we've quite reached that level yet.
Well, now we actually have women's, sports networks. I mean, things are definitely going along the lines of...
well, we did have WTSN for glorious 2.5 years, because I headed that up. I left Mohawk, actually, for my first stint at teaching, to head that up. And we were sort of the sister station for TSN at the time. And it lasted for 2.5 years, and it was more a business decision to shut it down. I think when you have something that new, with that new idea that you're going to feature only women's sports, it needed a longer time to get to where it should have been, but because of business decisions and parent companies being sold, we didn't last that long, but it was a fabulous experience for me.
But you do have some success stories. We have
yes.
an award here that was...
Yeah, I'll show there was Barbara Hamilton, was a well-known actress in Canada, and Barbara Hamilton kind of looked like this. And she said she posed for this award. But this was the actor award that I received in 1984 for the coverage of Olympic Journey. And so that was the first time a woman had ever won that particular award for outstanding sports broadcasting. So yeah, it's something that, like, after that, Brian Williams or Ron McLean kept winning them. So I think this is probably this little gap on somebody's shelf that they didn't win it that year. But yeah, it was a real, it's something special for me to remember, that time when we were, it was a very exciting time in sports.
Well, I mean, a lot of people within the industry might say that, awards and recognition in that sense don't count for much of anything, as compared to the actual experience of whatnot. But I mean, for a woman to be winning that back in that time,
I mean, recognition is always important, and I don't care, what people say. But the satisfaction, I guess, for my Olympic moment, Alwyn Morris, and you might not recognize that name because it did happen in '84, but he was a rower, and from I can't remember which reserve he was from in Quebec. But anyway, he was in the duo position, and they won gold. And as soon as they were standing on the podium, he lifted up an eagle feather So I was there to do the interviews, and immediately after, what's the significance of the eagle feather? And it was in remembrance of his grandfather, who had encouraged him to get into the sport, and he was tearful while we were doing the interview. And that interview has been replayed over the years several times. So that was something very special for me.
Oh, they're great
Sounds
memories.
like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Sue Prestedge, that's all the time we have, but thank you for joining us, and we'll be back in a couple minutes here on Good Morning Mohawk.